Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory Old World video. In today's episode, I want to share with you my 2,000 point Empire army. I have been working diligently on this for the last few weeks, since before the Old World came out, trying to get it ready to be used in battle ports, to be used in other videos, and generally just for your viewing pleasure. And you know what? It's all done now. We've completed the last bits. We've dotted the I's and crossed the T's, as it were. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this army overview. And so, without further ado, let's not mess around any further. Let's summon the elect accounts and charge right into today's episode. Now, the first thing I want to do is make one thing abundantly clear. This is not a competitive army overview. I've done this kind of video before, mostly for 40k, but it's always been on some competitive or wacky tactic that you can use to win the game. And that's not the case with this. Very much this is a hobby milestone. I've been working on this Empire army for several weeks now, quite diligently, and I've finally got to the point where it can be a proper 2,000 point list. What I mean by that is, it's not just stat padded out with loads of upgrades and equipment that I would never really have any intention of using, but rather it is a fully fleshed out, well balanced 2,000 point army that, whilst I don't think is meta in any way, shape or form, can be happily used in game without feeling like it's got one arm tied behind its back or it's unnecessarily bloated. Long story short, this is my first well-rounded army, but it is by no means completed, so there is lots of opportunity for further expansion. So whilst we're going through the units, if there's something that you think's missing or that you would like to see, please let me know down in the comment section. And thanks to the fact that I do have a 3D printer, I will be able to essentially put any units together that your heart desires. So if you want to see some handgunners or some cavalry, that is totally possible. Get your votes down in the comments section, put your foot forward, and let me know what you'd like to see and where you'd like me to expand. But with all of that said, now let's get into the army itself. And I think, as is tradition, we should start with the infantry corps, the good old state troops, the backbone of any Empire army. And I have gone for two sizable bricks of 30 regular state troops with full command, and we've got light armor, shields, and thrusting spears. The idea behind these units is to hold the line in the name of the Emperor. By Sigmar's hammer, they shall not take our land. And I'm going to rank these guys up in formations as you see now, in a 6x5 formation, which should give them lots of redundancy when it comes to their static combat resolution. Each one of these units is going into combat before any other factors are taken into account with at least 4 combat resolution. They've got a banner, they've got close order, and they have, well, unless something's gone drastically wrong, at least 2 ranks after the first that will be intact. You then have the fact that they can get a few kills depending on the targets that are hitting them. There's also going to be certain characters that will be leading them with special equipment like BSBs and stuff like that, which should make that combat res even higher. And so overall, these guys aren't designed to be overly killy. They can kill some stuff, but really they're meant to be a little tough with a lot of static combat resolution, which will allow them to hold in place whilst the rest of my army can sort of get the damage done, get the flank attacks done, and get the job done and secure victory. Now, I've played a couple of games with, 3 games in fact, with these spearmen, and one thing that I've noticed is that when they're going up against other light infantry, things that tend to be toughness 3, with 5 up or a 6 up save, then they're actually perfectly okay at not only holding those units but also killing them. Even if these guys often get charged, because they've got the shield and the light armor, they can take a few hits from low strength weapons and they tend to be able to tank them. And then they also will get to fight in 2 ranks. So Sure, maybe the front rank will get cut down by those orcs or by those goblins, but the second rank will get to prod him, and then it comes over to the next turn, and either we've held or we've given ground, and then we can sort of charge in ourselves, or we can just hold again and just, you know, keep tanking those first charges and using our spears to just keep prodding the enemy. I had one particular battle, and it's not exactly the feat of heroes, but where one of my spearman blocks, which had been whittled down to just about 16 guys, actually was able to get 12 attacks because they were charged by a unit of goblins, and the goblins outnumbered them 3-1, and yet because the goblins basically did no damage on their attacks into me, I was able to turn around and hit them back with sort of 10 or 11 attacks, and that meant I killed quite a lot of them, and not only did my static combat res help me a little bit, but the number of kills massively swung that combat in my favour. But the moment that these guys start encountering things that are a little tougher, even basic things like orcs or chaos warriors, things that are just toughness 4, I have to admit that their damage does definitely go down. They do struggle with wounding on 5s and 6s, and so their primary job is to hold and get a kill here and there if they can, but it's one of those things where they're quite good into other light infantry as and when that opportunity arises. But supporting these two big bricks, we have some detachments. Each one of my regiment units is going to have 2 detachments, one of Free Company and one of Archers. I'm quite a fan of Free Company in this edition. I think they're a little overlooked. Sure, they die very, very easily, but the fact they get 2 attacks per guy, and you also get thrown weapons and all sorts of stuff, I think makes them pretty useful. You can also use them just as a simple screen, considering that they're levies. They can go in front, take the charge, get obliterated, and that's totally okay because it won't cause panic in your parent units or in the other detachments, because again, they're just levies. The Free Company are really there to basically flank charge. The enemy will hopefully charge the main brick, and by having 5 Free Company going into the flank, not only will it give us a bit more combat resolution, but unless it's a heavy infantry unit, we're also going to be taking away the opponent's rank bonus. Combined with the fact that each one of these Free Company detachments is actually putting out 10 attacks, because they get extra hand weapon on each guy, and against the right target, not only will we be disrupting them, but also actually racking up a few important kills as well. Of course, the Free Company are going to die very, very quickly and easily, but that's why they're so cheap. It's only 30 points for one of these attachments. It's an absolute bargain, and if they die, they die, and if they do their job, then great, but either way, they are going to be doing some sort of purpose on the battlefield. We've then got the Archers, and these are going to form a similar sort of role. We're either going to be having them as out front, providing some kind of screening, providing some sort of speed bump if needed, or we're going to be using them to get a few extra shots, to get a bit of cheeky combat res on the way in. If the way that detachments work, if someone charges the parent unit, then you can counter charge with your melee units, but you can also do a stand and shoot with your missile detachments. And so having these cheeky archer boys here will definitely help with that. And again, they're very cheap. They're only 7 points per guy. So if they manage to kill one model on the way in, and that's great. That's 1 extra pip of combat res that goes towards the parent unit. That's 1 rank bonus that might be taken out of the equation from the enemy unit. But if they die or they don't achieve anything, it's okay. They're still just cheap 35-point units, and they can do screening and they can do all sorts of other little shenanigans if we need them to. However, I will admit that there are other detachments that you could take that might do a better job than these guys under certain circumstances. For example, you could take a detachment of halberdiers, and they would cost the same points as one of these cheeky little Free Company boys, but would have an armor save, admittedly only 6 up, but they would have it, and they'd also have strength 4, 8-1 attacks. Yes, they would have less of them, they'd only have 5 of them, but depending on who you're going against, that might be very, very tasty. And getting that, it's all well and good having lots of strength 3 attacks, but you go against So, an orc who's toughness 4 or anything that's toughness 4, they're going to start bouncing. Also, with the archers, it's all well and good taking them as a detachment, but they are the same points as a crossbow guy. And the crossbow guy is going to have better strength, potentially better AP with the armor bane, and of course, better range. I have these as my detachments because that's what I had printed and base coated, ready to go. But in the future, I will definitely be trying out other detachments to see how they work. But moving on from our detachments, we do have some more infantry we want to take a look at. Now, these are the characters. We'll come back to those in a moment. We'll have a look at the other missile troops here. And again, we've got 2 units of archers. I really like Empire archers. I think they're a fantastically flexible unit. They're both open order, or you can have them as skirmishers. They get a lot of shots. They are one of the few units in the Empire roster that have volley fire. So either you have them in open order and they're getting a good amount of shots, they're getting 8 shots, or you have them in skirmish and they're probably getting all 10 shots. Of course, skirmishers mean they will have absolutely no chance in combat whatsoever. But then again, they probably won't. They won't anyway, because they've got no armor and they're armed with daggers. They're armed with hand weapons. But I do really like Empire archers. I did a video on them recently, how I think they might be one of the best Empire core choices, not necessarily because of the amount of damage they can do, but the amount of tactical flexibility that they bring to the force, the screening, the war machine harassment, the ability to deal with other light units efficiently. One of the things that I find Empire kind of struggles with in their roster is a lot of their flanking units, a lot of their light cavalry is actually quite expensive. Pistoliers are not cheap. Knights are not cheap. Demigriffs, all this kind of stuff that lights up in flanks, they're not cheap, and often they're very effective, very powerful. But if you've got a unit of knights who are basically spending most of the game getting to a skirmish with the enemy unit of light or fast cavalry, well, yeah, you might win that fight, but you're not going to be getting many points. And if anything, your opponent might have just been distracting you. Whereas what's good about archers is, for a block of 10, they're 70 points. It's nothing. It's almost pocket change in a 2,000 or larger point army. And so having a unit of these means that if you need to engage in some flanking shenanigans and dealing with other light units that might be trying to get the flank off, the flank charge off on some of the bricks, well, then you've got something that can happily deal with that situation and trade well in a points efficient manner. Or if the enemy isn't doing anything like that, they're just coming straight at you. They're just going to not mess around with fancy tactics and it's going to be a big old brawl. Well, brilliant. You can now just engage in missile attacks. You can just provide supporting fire. And sure, they're only bows. They're only going to kill a model here and there, but that could be a rank bonus taken away. That could be a leadership bonus taken away from something that relies on warband. So they are very flexible troops, and they're also pretty cost effective. Your standard crossbowman is going to be 7 points as well. These guys are 7 points each, but he's only firing in 1 rank, so you've got to take them in very long 10-man lines, or take them in inefficient units where you're paying for 10 but only 5 are getting to shoot. Or you've got handgunners, which are 8 points, and again, this is without any sort of armor that you're adding into the situation. Those handgunners might want some light armor, and they start going up to sort of 9 points and all this kind of stuff. So, point is, archers are cheap, and they are flexible, and they're not overly killy, but they don't necessarily have to be to get the job done, to get their job done, to be specific. But if we need to do some damage, if we need to hurt the enemy at range, and we need to introduce them to one of the 3 things that makes the Empire great, which is faith, steel, and most importantly, gunpowder, then we have a brace of great cannons. These great cannons are actually very near and dear to my heart because, unlike a lot of the other stuff that you've seen up until this point, they are not 3D printed. These are totally legit GW models, and I've actually had them since I was but a wee boy. I've had these have been in storage in my parents' attic until recently, basically unpainted and unloved, for 20 years. Literally, they were just sat in a box in the attic for 20 years, and I was amazed when my parents still had them. They hadn't cleared them out in one of their spring cleanings, and I was able to restore them. Now, there's actually a bit of a weird mix of models here. You can see we've got, the 2 plastic Empire Great Cannons, but the crew are nearly all metal. So you've got this guy here at the front wearing the coat and with the big floppy hat. He's actually a metal crewman. The guy behind him with the firing stick, I don't know what it's actually called. Someone in chat will let me know the historical name for the hot stick that fires the cannon. He's a plastic crewman, but the guy with the loading rod, he is actually metal, and you've got another metal crewman there as well. The guy there with the fancy hat with the little, it's got like a little powder charge in his hands, he's also metal. And then this guy here at the front is plastic. So there's a whole mixture. If anyone watching this knows the original model or kit that the guys with the sticks, with the ramrods are from, or these other two metal models, because they don't look like those sticks are wide enough to be good for cannons. Maybe they're an old Hell Blaster kit. Maybe they're not even GW. But let me know if you know where those old metal models are from. Now, one of the funny quirks on these models is between the two cannons. Now, they look very, very similar, but eagle-eyed observers will have noticed that one of these cannons is a disaster waiting to happen. Notice this one over here. You'll notice that unlike the cannon on the left, which has the metal, what you call them, strips, bracing the cannon in place, keeping it as part of the carriage, this one does not have it. You see, this cannon was bought second-hand. My dad got it second-hand from one of his mates at work, and it was already pre-built, and so he built it properly. This one was built by, I think, about 7 or 8, maybe 9-year-old Mordian, who didn't realise what the metal strips were for. And so if anyone fires this cannon, it's going to go flying out the carriage and probably brain half the crew behind it. But let's just hope that it doesn't. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. And the blessing of Sigma will keep it in place, and it won't just misfire every single game. If this one does end up misfiring every shot, I wouldn't even be mad. It'll just be an accurate representation, and I'll have to jerry rig or milli put or green stuff some strips there to keep it, some bracings to keep it held down. But speaking of old school, original childhood GW models, let me introduce you to the Stank. I really shouldn't call it that. This is the steam tank, but this isn't any old steam tank. This is a metal steam tank. But this isn't any metal steam tank. This is a second generation metal steam tank, and I don't know this for sure, but I think this might be one of the rarer Empire models. You see, there was a metal steam tank long ago, but it looked very different to this. The sides were a lot smoother. The cannon was much more integrated. There wasn't that sort of big hole that the cannon was in. And it was almost a completely different design. And then there is the plastic steam tank that everyone knows and loves. And that looks very, very similar to this. Almost identical. But between those two variants, there was this behemoth. This beast. This potential murder weapon that was the metal second generation steam tank. This brought in all of the super gothic elements that we know and love, the extra spiky bits on the armor, the straight lines, and of course all of the cool bits like the skull on the back of the boiler. I think that's meant to let steam out. And we've also got this little thing on top, this eagle statue. It introduced lots and lots of cool things. This very much is the plastic design. Obviously the plastic design did bring a few improvements again, but it's made out of metal. And let me tell you, this thing weighs a ton. In fact, I did a little experiment, and this model, which is held together with just super glue and dreams, weighs 448 grams. Now, to put that into perspective, a plastic Lehman Russ tank, which is about twice the size of this, only costs 99 grams. And a Bane Blade, a super heavy guard vehicle, only weighs about 420 something grams. So this tank, which is smaller, it's smaller than like a Taurox. It's one of the smallest vehicles that I know of in 40k that isn't something like, an old Orc war track. And even then it's probably about the same size as that. Weighs more than an Imperial Guard Super Heavy. Now I know some of you might be saying, well, of course it's made out of metal. Yeah, but it's for me, I just find it funny because of how tiny it is. It's absolutely diddy. and yet it weighs so much. And genuinely, of course I don't advocate or advise this, but you could genuinely put this in a pillowcase or a sock if you lose a game, and just using it to bludgeon your opponent, or well, I should say bludgeon his models, and that way you'll have a 100% tournament victory rate. Because if there's no witnesses, then how can they possibly disprove that you won that game? But moving swiftly on, I did say this was a childhood model, and my big brother actually got this for me on my 9th birthday, and it has sat again in my parents' attic, in my satellite pile of shame as it would be, for 22 years. And it's only in the last week, as the time of recording this video, that I've actually finally assembled it, primed it, and painted it. And it's been a long time coming. And I took a picture of it when I did it, and I sent it to my brother and went, thanks for the birthday present 22 years ago. And he absolutely loved it. It was great to finally see this kit come to life. And for anyone wondering why it took me so long to do it, well, firstly, I actually did originally try and assemble this as a kid, and I didn't have a hope in hell. It was just too complicated and too intimidating for me. And then I totally forgot about it. I didn't realise that it was just basically sat in my parents' attic for so long, just in a box with lots of other bits and bobs. So it was cool to finally get to build this model that has very much been sort of not hanging over me, but in the back of my mind. I wonder if I've still got that kind of thing. You know, it's been in the back of my mind for so long, and it just feels right. It feels like a hobby milestone to finally have a model that absolutely defeated me as a child, finally conquered and built and ready for battle in all its glory. But finally, we get to the head of the snake, we get to the command, we get to the lords and heroes. We have our characters. Starting off, we have a level 4 wizard, and some of you may notice that actually this is an old metal Bretonnian damsel. I didn't actually realise this until I started painting her, but there are some like fleur-de-lis sort of iconography scattered around the model. So in my army, she's going to be an exiled damsel, and that very much makes sense that she's exiled, because typically I'm going to use her with the demonology law of magic, and that is because I find demonology to be very, very, very potent. The fact that the law has a signature spell which allows you to do just good magic missile damage, and then it's also got loads of buffs, such as being able to get sort of +1 attack and +1 strength, is just really, really good. I feel like it's going to be almost an auto-include for a lot of Empire players, just because a lot of your basic troops like mine will really struggle to do damage, but suddenly if they're getting extra attacks and they're getting extra strength, it really gets around the weakness of spearmen. In terms of magical equipment, like I said, she's gone to level 4, but she's also got a arcane familiar, which will allow her to pick her spells rather than just having to roll for it, so I can tailor her to exactly what I need. And I've also given her the Armour of Tarnus, which is magical armour that you can still wear if you're a wizard. It gives you light armour, but it also gives you a cheeky little ward save as well. This will give her a modicum of protection on an otherwise very fragile character. We've then got our second character, and that is a captain of the Empire, and this is my battle standard bearer. He is equipped with full plate armor and a shield. He's also got the talisman of protection, and he is wielding the sword of might. This will give him extra strength, and it will also mean that with his full plate armor and shield, he'll be on a 3-up save, and the talisman of protection will give him a 5+ ward save as well. I want to have all those defensive buffs layered onto my BSB, as he is one of the most important characters in any army, but especially in an Empire army. We don't have things like warband and stuff to fall back on to boost our leadership. We need our characters, and we need that reroll, otherwise we might struggle to actually hold and keep the enemy in place. So the BSB is very, very important. You may notice regarding some of my flags that I've actually gone for some real world flag design. So this actually, my BSB has got the flag of England, so that's the St. George Cross, but then we've also got some other flags in the units that I've gone for as well. So this flag is the flag of Denmark, This flag is the flag of Poland. There's no real particular rhyme or reason or rhythm behind any of the flags that I've chosen. I knew I was going to be doing flags of countries of the world, so I figured the only one that had a bit of thought into it was I might as well be as cringe as possible and have my own country's flag as the BSB. A little bit of that patriotism going there. Oh my days, patriotism, scoundrel, there's some sort of saying around there. Please lambast me down in the comments section. But I plan on actually having lots of different flags for other units, and I'm thinking I'm going to try and have some. So far the flags have just been fun ones, and I'll be honest, the ones that I can do in red and white, because that's the colour I've been practicing on the flags, to be honest. But I am looking at doing some other flags as well. I've got an idea to have a big unit of handgunners with the flag of, you know, the United States of America, because, well, that just seems appropriate. USA with the guns. But if any of you guys have got any ideas for flags that you think would look good on the tabletop, or you want me to you know, represent your country or something like that, that's absolutely fine. I'm open to pretty much all of them, as long as they'll sort of fit in with the army, and they're relatively easy for me to do because I'm not the best painter. I will of course give it my best shot, and if you've got any that will fit an appropriate unit, maybe something for a unit of knights, you know, then, or something like a unit of handgunners or pistoliers or halberdiers, anything like that, put that forward and I will do my best. Of course, there are hundreds of flags in the world and thousands from history, so I might not be able to do every single one, but if there's some that catch my eye, or there's a particularly sort of good theme behind it, then I will do my best to incorporate them into future units in the army. But going back to the characters, we've then got 2 generals of the Empire. Now, you can get 2 generals. You can have 1 per 1,000 points, and as this is a 2,000 point army, that means I can take 2 of them. These generals are really important because they are a reliable source of damage dealing in an army which otherwise is predominantly, outside of the cannons and the steam tank, predominantly strength 3. I've got lots of strength 3 attacks in here, but I need ways of being able to do more damage. Now, obviously the cannons can do damage, obviously the steam tank can do damage, and as we've seen, the sorceress can do damage. She can even buff one of these squads to be quite potent in combat. But the BSB, he does a little bit. He's only got sort of 2 attacks at strength 5. And so what we've done here is we've tried to get our generals to be pretty good in combat. Now, these are Empire characters, so naturally they're not going to be the best. I will not be able to duel a Chaos Lord anytime soon. But the point of these guys is to try and add a bit more killing power to the rank and file. If this unit can kill 1 or 2 guys, then hopefully each one of these characters will be able to kill 2, 3, if not 4 guys each. And that's really where the punch of the melee infantry is going to come from. Now, our first captain here with the big 2-handed sword is not actually 2-handed, but he is going to be a general of the Empire, and he is going to have full plate armor. If I can have full plate, I'm going to take full plate. If anyone says it doesn't look like he's got full plate, I advise you to go and look at great swords and see what the threshold for full plate armor in an Empire army actually is. So he's got full plate armor. He's got a shield, giving him a 3-up save. He's also going to have the Sword of Battle, which gives him +1 attack and +1 strength and +1 AP. So he's actually going to have 4 attacks at strength 5, AP 1, which is very nice. A lot of, slight side note, Empire characters really don't have enough attacks. I can't help but feel it's a mistake. Your captain has only got 2, your general has only got 3 base. When you compare that to something like a Goblin Big Boss who's got 3 base, and a Goblin War Boss who's got 4 base, I can't help but feel like maybe there's a slight mistake in the Empire book, and they should have 1 extra attack on these characters. Let me know what you think. But besides that, I've tried to basically, with both characters, get more attacks out of them. So with this guy having the Sword of Battle, he's going to be hitting decently well with a good AP and with a decent number of attacks. But on top of the Sword of Battle, I should say, he's also got the White Cloak. The White Cloak is a unique Empire piece of gear which gives you a 5+ invulnerable save, which is actually really good because it means I've actually essentially got 2 sources of ward save. I keep saying invulnerable, please forgive me. Of ward save. I've got the Talisman of Protection and I've got the White Cloak. So both these characters will be on a 3-up save with a 5-up ward save, which makes them fairly tanky. Last but not least, we've got our final Empire General, and he has got the Duelist's Blades. And he is wearing full plate armor, So he doesn't have he does not have a 3-up save. He's only got a 4+ save because he's not got a shield, and he also doesn't have a ward save. But by having the duelist blades, he actually has 2 extra attacks, bringing him up to 5 attacks, and those attacks are AP -1. Of course, they are only at strength 4, which would mean he might struggle to actually wound anything, but I have given him a potion of strength. So the idea is that this guy is going to drink his potion of strength, hopefully go up to strength 6 on a turn, and then just start hacking and whacking and smacking. Now, each one of these heroes of the Empire, the captain and the 2 generals, does have a pistol. I had a few points left over, so I thought I'd give them a pistol each. But of course, that does add up to like sort of 10, 15 extra points. And there is a little bit of magical allowance left on these guys. So if you've got an idea for what I could spend that 15 points on instead, please let me know. For me, I just thought cheeky pistol on each one might give them a little ranged attack. But yes, I think there probably is a better way to spend that. We've got a Kit Kat. Hello, Mr. Man. Mr. Man has come and decided to check out the Empire troops. He's been a good, very, very good boy today. Anyway, I can't say anyway. Come here, you. Come here. Yeah, it gets a little stroke. I know it's a total divergence, but I've got to give my cat a stroke. Oh, he's a good boy. You're gonna help with the video, yeah? Okay, there we go. So, going back to the video. Some of you who have been going along adding the points up may have noticed that I'm actually slightly over 2,000 points if I use this exact list as it is. Do not fear. This is very much, I would describe, the parade ground. There is a slight adjustment to the list when I want to use it as an actual 2,000 point army. And that is essentially, I just need to drop a couple of guys so that I can put my characters into the units. So in order to make this actually 2,000 points, I will need to drop 2 spearmen from here, 1 spearman from here, and 1 archer, or an additional spearman. And what I'm going to do, essentially, the plan I'm going with the army is I'm going to have the duelist guy in this unit, and then I'm going to have the BSB and the other general in this unit, and then I'm going to have the mage in a little archer bunker there, because remember, they can go open order, so there's absolutely nothing stopping them from ranking up like this, and then this unit, you know, doing skirmisher formation if it wants to. Now that's the current plan, and that would save me the points that I need in order to be under 2,000. But like I did say, this sorcerer may need to be doing some more damage dealing in terms of by boosting up one of my units. So what I might do is I'm going to play a game or so with this sort of layout with the characters, but if I'm finding that, you know, she's just not providing enough of a buff sat back here, and really she's just basically spaffing out magic missiles, what I will do is I need a bit more screening or something. What I'll do is I'll put this archer back here, both of these units will be skirmishers, and then I will take another spearman from here because they're both 7 points, so it's very flexible in terms of which models I want to take out, and I'll put her in this unit, and that way, you know, she can cast, I think, is it like demonic possession or something like that. She can cast the spell on this unit because the spell that buffs up one of your squads with +1 attack and +1 strength and stuff like that. It has to be her unit. She can't do it to, like, she can't be in the archer bunker and then do it, you know, 18 inches away or anything. No, it has to be her unit. So that is a little bit risky, obviously, having her in what is potentially a frontline combat unit, but that's why we gave her the Armor of Tarnus, so she's got an armor save and a ward save. And also, hopefully, she won't get challenged out anytime soon, because we'll have the unit champion, and then we'll have this guy, and it would only be the 3rd challenge where she would finally start being under risk. And at that point, she probably could just be like, I'm just gonna bow out, I'm just not gonna do it, you know, which might be a problem, but might also save a bacon, which would be more important. So that's what the list would actually look like, and that's what it gets it to precisely 2,000 points. It might be like 1999, but that's what gets it to the legal threshold. So we're not a few points over. I just wanted to show off what the full spear bricks and stuff, and that's every model that I have painted for the army up until this point as well. But that just about covers it. Yeah, that is my 2,000 point Empire of Man army. Like I said, it's not perfect. It's not meta. If anything, it might be kind of weak. I haven't got any big monsters in here. There's no cavalry in here. There's lots of areas that could be improved. But let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section below. Are there other Empire units you want to see added to this force? Or do you want to see me sort of leave this army as it is and then go into another army? Maybe start up 2,000 points of dwarves or orcs or goblins. And then once I've got 2 or 3 armies that are sorted and battle ready as it were, come back round to the Empire and start adding on to them. It's kind of up to you guys. Let me know. Do you want me to expand and stick with one faction? Or do you want me to start dipping my toe into other armies? Order or evil? Your choice. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more content like this and you want to support the old world on this channel, then please go ahead and smash that like button. It makes a huge difference with the algorithm, and the better that these old world videos can do, the more of them I can produce. Also, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more old world content, then consider subscribing to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, and they have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a big shout out to Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys so much. Your incredible generosity is a massive part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time, and it is a big driving force behind the channel. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.